I sent out a memo to everybody today mentioning that we're going to be doing a special, like a loving kindness meditation. And I asked them to send me some a name that we might include in our meditation this evening. So I have a list here with the names that the people sent me, through email today, and I'm going to send this around. So if there's a loved one or somebody that's been on your mind lately, somebody that keeps popping up, in the cognition, somebody that you might want to include in our loving kindness meditation, write their name down, and we'll include that in the meditation today. Loving kindness, as most of you know, is the Pali word is metta. So metta means loving kindness. There's lots of ways to use loving kindness. A lot of times in the West, we use it as a way to end our meditation, or to add some closure to a meditation gathering. Sometimes people will do loving kindness at the end and then say, good night. The true way to use loving kindness is before you even do the meditation. Of course, meditation itself, we can do loving kindness as the meditation, but generally I like to look at loving kindness as a setup practice for our regular meditation. And so we use metta here at the end. We always have this this recitation that we use at the end of our meditation. To attain the state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, and so on and so forth. And then I usually, after this, I usually do another form of metta meditation. May each of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful, on and on and on. So there's a couple of different metta recitations, I call them recitations, that we do, almost like rituals in a way. But the true way and the true purpose of metta is to send loving kindness to others, and it's for our benefit. It's not necessarily for the benefit of others. So the more loving kindness that we can send out to others, even a list such as this that we're going to be using, the better it is for us. I mean, it's not as if we are being what's the word, selfish in our meditation, because metta is actually designed for us to have this opening of the heart. And the wonderful thing about metta is that it can be increased. It can be dialed in, so to speak. And it's usually a feeling, a feeling within that we feel within the chest, like an opening of the heart. And when we love, we feel it. It's an emotional thing, and it should be the same way with this meditation, the type of practice that we do. You can just pass it up, Joe. That's okay.
You want to walk?
Thank you, Joe.
No,
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you. We filled it up. So once again we have. Pardon me?
Put somebody's name on there who you want to see.
Oh, he was late. He was late.
And detention at the end of this for you too, young man. Did you want to put somebody's name on there to send somebody?
This is for metta. If somebody, it can be man or animal or anything.
It can be an animal.
But
Okay, he's doing it.
yeah. If there's something to repeat, if there's something, some person or something that's on your mind that you feel like you want to send loving appreciation, loving kindness to, just write it down. You can write down, you can write down your pet bullfrog if you want. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking.
Cat it is.
So, yeah, it is. All beings are special. They're all living beings. I think metta is one of those things that it's basically unconditional love, when we look at it. And we know that unconditional love is probably one of the most powerful things out there. But we humans kind of give love a bad name, in a way. I mean, we don't express it the way we should.
Bon Jovi.
I'm not talking about.
Bon Jovi. Yeah.
I'm not talking about sensual love. I'm talking about, how we express love, to one another. This isn't meant to be funny, but it probably will be. But my father wasn't able to say that he loved me for the first 50 years, 60 years, maybe 70 years of his life. Probably the 70 years.
Could be 80.
Yeah, it could be 75 years of his life. And not because he didn't, it's just because it wouldn't come out. It's kind of like that joke, the Ole and Ali joke. Is that?
The old Norwegian.
The old Norwegian couple where Ollie, what are their names?
It was Ole. I don't remember her name.
Ole and Ali?
Maybe.
A married couple, old Norwegian couple that Ali was in bed at the hospital and
Deathbed.
on her deathbed, and Ole was so choked up and so moved by the experience that he almost told her he loved her. We don't have any Norwegians in here.
I saw a show about it where they don't show any emotions, right?
Stoic.
Yeah.
Stoic. Yeah.
Stoic. They have the emotions, but they in some cultures and many people they just don't show it. It's very, very stoic, and the main thing. Even with metta, we don't have to show it if we don't want to. We don't have to show it out on the outside, but we want to feel it on the inside. We want to feel metta. Otherwise, it's not really working. It's like a ritual. And what I mean by feeling it in the heart, like remember the first time we were in love, or the first time we felt unconditional love for somebody and they were maybe harmed in some way. Just the love that a mother has for her child, all these different ways to express that feeling that happens, and it's I have a microphone on, so I don't want to make a bunch of thump, but it's usually felt within the chakra of the heart or the area of the chest, like a warmth, and it's. Maybe that's the actual feeling of the opening of the heart, and we call it an opening of the heart because we are accepting that loving kindness. So the more love that we put out, the more love that we get in. It's like the more love that we can share with people, the more we get back. There's a lot of things that somebody asked me the other day. Bringing things into our life. You're going to have to help me out.
Manifesting?
Manifesting, thank you. We're talking about manifesting, and I mentioned to this person, I think it was in the other room here, that I've always been able to manifest, and we can all do this, we can manifest what we want out of life, happiness and nice homes and things like that. And I mentioned that one of the things I never really manifested was an abundance of money. And because I've never really even tried, because I've always had everything, basically, so it wasn't like I wish, I'm gonna, collect a whole bunch of money and put as much money in the bank so I can, have more things, but the thing, and the reason I'm saying this is because we can manifest love, and the way we do it is to put it out there. And I think you can all agree with that. And if you don't agree with it, give it a shot, give it a try, because it will work, but the main thing is that it has to be unconditional. You don't want to expect anything in return. And practicing metta or loving kindness is the way. I mean, it's like dipping our toe in the creek and saying, that's what this is like, And so we can be practicing this unconditional love first thing in the morning, if we sit down in meditation, or in the middle of the day or in the evening. And when we do it in our sitting practice, our formal practice of meditation, then we find that we start doing it when we are meeting, just like meet somebody on the street. All of a sudden we send them loving kindness. Or, you know, the person at the bank or the store, or the person walking down the street. Or we catch ourselves, you know, being critical of somebody, and instead of being critical or judgmental, we go, I'm going to send them some loving kindness. And if they don't feel it, that's all right, because it's working on us. And the more loving kindness that we feel, it's like this. We kind of, if you can imagine, like having an aura of love around us, and people pick up on that. You know, if you're a loving being, caring being, that you live your life, you know, based on unconditional love, people will pick up on that. You know they will. And then manifestation of anything is easy. So a lot of the people that gave their names online said that they were going to tune in, and those people that are tuning in on YouTube, that is, we're streaming live here, and those of you that are tuning in, thank you for the names and thank you for tuning in. We will do this meditation here. It's going to be based on metta, or loving kindness. So on that note, please make yourself comfortable. If you need more cushions, there's some laying around. There's one over here. Closing the eyes. Let's take a couple of nice deep breaths. Noticing the relaxing qualities of the exhalation. Most of us have spent the entire day without paying much regard to the breath, except for maybe having a stuffed up nose or blowing our nose or something like this, but the breath is an ideal meditation object. It can be made interesting, it can be made boring, and it can also be used to relax the body and still the mind. And it's an excellent object of concentration. We can feel the breath, we can notice the movement of the breath, the temperature, the moisture. The Buddha said that the breath can take us all the way through this path and into enlightenment. And oftentimes we set the breath aside and then we pick it up later on. I believe that the most powerful and the most meaningful types of meditation is the silence, and to bring ourselves into the present moment, practicing setting aside the past and the future. And resting in this presence. This is also a part of concentration. It's also a part of concentration and mindfulness. In some ways it's a part of selflessness. But it is resting in the present moment, setting aside the past and the future, and discovering who we are, discovering our true nature. And many great teachers agree that in order for us to really have a fulfilling meditation practice, one that has a good, steady concentration and clarity of mind, we have to have an open heart. And we have to be working at setting aside the hindrances. And one of the biggest hindrances that we have is ill will, desire as well, restlessness and worry. And a lot of these things can be eradicated by starting our practice with loving kindness. And as mentioned, we can call loving kindness a setup practice. Other setup practices might be counting the breaths or doing a body scan. But loving kindness is one that we can really get good at, one that we can use throughout our entire day and our entire life. Using this unconditional love. Using it and pointing it first towards ourselves and then towards the other people and other things and beings in our lives. So we start with ourselves. And I think we all know from a psychological standpoint, if there's any animosity or self-anger or self-loathing, it can really set us back in life. Many times we don't even realize it's there. It could stem from something that that damaged us when we were young, and we think it's our fault. Not consciously, but subconsciously. We think it's our fault why somebody left us or why somebody got mad at us. We think it's our fault that mom or dad got angry that we did something. So we have sometimes we neglect to forgive ourselves. And loving kindness is a practice of forgiveness because it is unconditional love. And so we have to learn to forgive and forget, and then we can move on. And so be open-minded to the fact that there might be some ill will. That's usually described as a feeling of discontent or dislike for ourselves or a part of ourselves. And we've often heard people say there's some parts of me that I don't like, or this is the part of me that I don't like. When this comes out, I don't like it. These types of things. So these can be very serious accusations against ourselves. And that's exactly why we practice loving kindness, and that's exactly why we start with ourselves. And so imagine that you're sitting in front of a younger you. You can pick the age, maybe 5 years old, maybe 7, 8, 10. Maybe the earliest recollection or the earliest recall or memory that you have of yourself. Or maybe you want to picture yourself when you were a teenager. Maybe that's when some trouble started or something. But imagine you now talking to you back then. And telling the younger you that how life is going to be. Probably might not be the way you imagine exactly. There'll be these ups and downs, and these things will happen, that you shouldn't beat yourself up over it. You should learn to forgive yourself. You should learn to find all the happiness and all the happy moments in life and really treasure them. Just imagine all the things that you would tell yourself, your younger self, if you had a chance to actually explain to the young you, and the young you listening, open ears and an open heart. And then you tell that young you that you will always be loved, that you will never be blamed, you'll never be judged or criticized by yourself, that you'll still learn all the lessons in life, but behind it will be unconditional love. You'll be loving yourself all along the way. And you can even tell that younger you that this unconditional love can grow and grow and grow. And it's something that can be a guiding light in life. And see if you can feel that within your chest at this moment, within the area of the heart. A warmth, or sometimes it feels like a heaviness. This is what you want to feel. You want to expand on this. This is that feeling of metta, or loving kindness, within you. Now hold that feeling that you have within and carry it through the rest of this meditation. And think of some people in your life that really have great meaning. Your parents, perhaps, whether they're alive or past. Siblings, your close relations, grandma and grandpa. Take some of this loving kindness that you're feeling within at this moment and share it with them. You can't give too much of it away. Notice how you can give and give and give, and all it does is grow within. That's the wonderful thing about it. And share this with these very special people in your life. Your parents and your siblings, your very close relations, blood relation. And wish loving kindness and wish happiness for all of them. Wish them all the kindness, and if they're alive, wish them health, success. And if they've passed, wish them a loving, kind rebirth in a very loving, non-hostile world. As a loving being. It helps to actually see not only the bodies of these people, but their face. And sometimes you have to use an image of a picture or something like this. If you're not very visual, just imagine them, how it would feel if they were standing or sitting in front of you, or right next to you. Oftentimes, if you're doing this at home, you can gather up all these people and have them sit in your meditation room right along with you while you're doing the practice. Now, the people in this room now, I would like you to send loving kindness out to the people next to you and all the people in the room, and see how that feels. I know you like each other because you were doing a lot of talking before we started meditating. And share that loving kindness with all the people in the room. And if you're watching this stream and you're meditating by yourself, you can still share this metta, loving kindness, with people that are close to you. And as I read these names, I would like to have everybody really try to get an image and really try to point this loving kindness, just like if it's a laser. And imagine these names that they're actually connected to a person. They're just not a word, but they're actually connected to a person. And you don't have to be very vivid necessarily with the visualization if you don't know the person. If it's a woman, just imagine a woman with the name that I'll mention. And silently send loving kindness to them. And you can do that in several ways. One way is to imagine that this kindness is actually, loving kindness is coming from your heart area to them. And another way is that you can imagine that you're passing a globe of white light to this person and they accept it. Just like you're passing loving kindness onto the other person. And again, don't worry, you can't give too much of it away. It's the more you give, the more you will have. So the names on the list that we have here is Kaylee. Try to send loving kindness to Kaylee. And Shirley. And send loving kindness to Amy. I understand that Amy has some addiction problems and she's homeless. Another woman by the name of Barbara D. Last initial is D. And gather up and send loving kindness to Rose. Send loving kindness to Les. And then gather up and send loving kindness to Terry. Keeping in mind that this is unconditional love. Sending loving kindness to Hema Gandhi. Sending loving kindness to Pat W. P-A-T-W with the last name. Send loving kindness to Leah. And sending loving kindness to Brandon. And may Ashley connect with this loving kindness that we send her. And send loving kindness to Deirde. Deirde. Gerardi. Please send loving kindness to John. And send loving kindness to Shane. Thank you for writing that. And please send loving kindness to Abe. I believe the name is Abe. Please send loving kindness to Michael. We're sending loving kindness to Mel Fessler. And Kathleen Paul. Sending loving kindness to Joe the Third. And sending loving kindness to Annie. Loving kindness to Jim. And sending loving kindness to Kesting. I'm still holding this feeling within the heart. Allow this loving kindness to spread within your area that you're in now, and imagine it going into the neighborhood that you live. It's probably close to this area, so that it touches the hearts of everyone. Sometimes it helps to have a view as if we're seeing the landscape from up above, seeing the people from as if we're flying up above them. Allow this loving kindness to touch the lives and hearts of all the people that you don't know, and even people that you have not got along with in the past. And think of all the people that have done special things for you, things that you feel as if you could really honor them in some small way. And loving kindness is not a small thing, it's actually a big thing. But think of all the teachers that made your life what it is, and all the friends that you've had, all the people that have helped you in small ways and big ways. And all the people that would help you if you needed help, without hesitation, they would do whatever was needed. And then come back to yourself and be very, very thankful that you have this capacity to meditate and do this metta practice. And how you've conditioned yourself to be here at this moment. Whether you're watching this on the computer or the phone, or whether you're actually sitting here live, you have brought yourself to this point today that you are meditating. You're doing something to better yourself and enrich your life. And for that, you should really be thankful for yourself. You've put yourself on a wonderful path and a wonderful journey. So hold that feeling of loving kindness within. Think of this as an opening of the heart. Any loving kindness that is even in your vicinity can be absorbed, with an open heart. But it must be open. And this is the same way that you allow loving kindness to pour out towards others. Our heart has to be open. And it all starts with loving kindness towards ourselves. Be very, very sensitive to your self-talk, how you treat yourself, what you think of yourself. And practice loving kindness on yourself. And then you can build it and use it for many, many wonderful things. So keep this feeling within the heart. See if you can hold that through this period of silence. Thank you. So we will recite the Loving Kindness Sutra, which is another type of metta or loving kindness practice, and this is actually the English version, one of the English versions of the sutra that the Buddha gave some monks that were meditating in the forest and they were scared by these demons that were in the forest, and he gave them the sutra to read so that to build their courage and to fend off the evil things, I guess you could say, that were in the forest. And they actually made friends with them, as the story goes. So this is the English version of that. We'll recite this together. To attain the state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties and unburdened livelihood, controlled in senses, discreet, reserved, and not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong, that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, large, medium, or small, microscopic or mammoth, leaving none, seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world without limitation, above, below, and across, free of obstruction, enmity, or hostility. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with broad vision and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. And may we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. May we have the patience, courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face in life. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, I want to say that loving kindness is an excellent setup practice. And the reason it's called a setup practice is because it sets us up for the regular meditation. And I think you probably found that after doing that metta, that when we went into silence, it was probably much, much easier. I hope it was for you anyway. Not that silence is difficult or anything, but after doing that metta, it can really be a nice way to settle into the practice of silent meditation. So metta is very powerful. Try to do it at the beginning of meditation, and it'll really serve you well. Once you do it in meditation, you'll find yourself doing it just like mindfulness. You'll be doing it all the time, and you can't go wrong with that. Any questions? Okay. Years ago, I was visiting this Benedictine, this Christian monastery. I think it was Benedictine. Is that right? Over in California. And we kind of had you could walk around and there was monks doing this, monks doing that. A monk was cleaning. And I walked by a kitchen, there was a monk. You know what plantains are? They slice up plantains and you have to cook them, otherwise you can't eat them. And he was slicing these plantains and putting them in a skillet. And I thought I was going to be funny, and I said, "Are you the friar?"
That's funny.
Yeah. And he said, "No, I'm the monk, the chipmunk." So, yeah. So none of that is true. That's just, I just wanted to break the ice. I encourage everybody to, you know, take advantage of some of the videos. You know, if you like this kind of thing, check out the videos on YouTube and use them periodically if you, you know, want to kind of change up your meditation. And what I mean by that is I suspect, I'm not sure, but I would like to think that most people are doing silent meditation at home. You know, you wake up in the morning and you have your little place to go to, maybe a big place to go to, and you maybe set a timer or something for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour, whatever it might be, and you sit in silence. And I think that's the best type of meditation that a person can do. There's a lot of people that do guided meditations. And what we do here is kind of mix it up. Like tonight we did a long metta, and then we had that period of silence. And what I'm saying is that if you want to change things up a little bit, look at, you maybe use some of the videos, you know, from these Wednesday nights, and you know, you can speed ahead and go right to the meditation where the meditation starts, and it'll be about a 25-minute meditation, you know, which is, you know, pretty average for a lot of people, I guess. It'd be a little bit of guiding and then at least 10 minutes of silence. So you can check those out. Very, very easy. And I have to say, meditate daily, you know, that we should all be meditating every day. And I think this is the choir here, so I'm preaching to the choir. So, how many of you were in the 8-week course that we just finished up on Saturday? You know, that course, I always learn so much when I teach that course, because I get a chance to read the book again. You know, that 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness, you know, by Bhante Gudarasana. It's really an amazing book, and it really hits home to me every time that I do that program and read that book. That is really the heart of not only the Buddhist teachings, but of life. You know, if a person wants to be happy in life, to be able to follow that and not necessarily look at it from step 1, step 2, step 3, but look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, the whole thing, like Beverly said, the whole enchilada. And it can be broken down, you know, we have these 8 steps, but we can break it down into morality, wisdom, and the practice. So what we're doing here is the practice, of course. And the practice area is skillful effort, skillful concentration, skillful mindfulness. And you know, these areas are what makes up the meditation practice. And skillful effort is the effort of the practice itself to really show that we can accomplish these wonderful things, the same thing that the Buddha accomplished. And that is, you know, waking up to these these steps of waking up, these steps of enlightenment. And the very, you know, and it's not really that difficult. The reason concentration, this kind of goes back to the class that's coming up that Ryan is teaching, the reason concentration is pointed out so heavily in the sutras is that it allows us to understand that when we have dropped all those hindrances, you know, the desire and the anger and the restlessness and worry, you know, the habitual worrying that we do, and the doubt and the fatigue, that we can really understand from from when they're gone, we can understand how we are supposed to be and what life can really be as a result of that. So it points out that we can eliminate those hindrances and we can live in that place where those hindrances aren't there. And that nothing out there has to change for that to happen. Just change inside. And so, the hindrances, the understanding what the hindrances are very key. But they're makeup of all the negativity that we have within the mind. So we go into meditation. We practice this silence. As I talked in the guiding, setting aside the past and the future, or maybe your past is here and the future is there, or whatever. But it's these habitual thinking mind, the thing that gets us in trouble, the things that causes us pain and suffering, is the mind remembering these things or creating these things. And if we can stop that momentarily, I mean, this stuff is useful. I mean, it's very useful because we're humans. We need that learning mechanism of the past and the future. But if it's habitual, or if we can't turn it off, or if we aren't so careful of the self-dialogue, or that we start believing that self-dialogue. In other words, there's this story about us that we are believing, and it's probably not even true. It's just like us believing that somebody thinks this thing about us. Oh, they think I'm this, they think I'm that, they think I'm that. And then we approach them and they don't even know what we're talking about when we ask them. I bet you think I'm a loser, don't you? What are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing. It's our story and we believe it. We're believing our story. And so when all that is set aside and we don't have that anymore, we're resting in this presence that I mentioned. And presence is place without hindrances. Presence can also have a few hindrances in it, but it's still not really allowing the past and the future to interfere with our nature. And when that hindrances are gone, we can really get a taste of who we are. And we like that. We like ourselves without these hindrances. We like ourselves without dwelling on the past or dwelling on the future. And if we don't like ourselves, there's nothing else to like, you know. And so for a lot of people, it's just a very pleasant place to be. But usually, what happens is this: if we can sustain that, this joy and this happiness come up. And for the most part, that joy is very wonderful. Happiness is very wonderful, and this ability to concentrate, you know, without these hindrances is very wonderful. But it gets a little bit energetic, and so this joy starts fading, starts dropping off, and we allow it to drop off. Eventually, even the happiness drops off. We allow it to drop off, and what happens is we go deeper and deeper and deeper into these states of concentration, and it can happen naturally, you know, through our practice. And what that does is allows us to see the selfless nature of who we are. And it's selfless because we don't have that story of the past and the future tagging along with us. And, you know, we can look at it as temporary, because when we come out of meditation and we go back to work or whatever, you know, these things start coming in. They start flooding back in. But to have these temporary moments when those hindrances are gone, then we have something to work with. Then we can expand on those moments, and we can work on it, and then we find ourselves going through these different levels of awakening, different levels of enlightenment, until we eradicate the idea of the story. We no longer have any doubt. We have no more anger. We don't desire to be born in a human realm or an animal realm or a godly realm. And so in other words, we lose our fear of death, and we get an opportunity to to live this life as it is without fearing death and with the understanding that, what happens. I am what I am. We understand that connectedness with everything and everyone on a much deeper level, as like the real connectedness, not just the words, and it makes life just so much more pleasant from now until future lives or to arahantship or whatever it is we wish for, whatever we desire. But it really starts with meditation practice, and working. Of course, that mindfulness is very important and very much a part of everything. But also the practices of concentration, so that we get a taste of that, get an understanding how that feels. Okay, we're kind of running over here. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
You gotta edit that part.
I forgot that.